Klatt is with us. Joel Klatt from Fox Sports joins us every Monday at 10:25 Central, courtesy of MyBookie.ag. MyBookie.ag code next round. A deposit of $50 or more gets you a cash bonus up to $200 instantly in your account. Use it right away. MyBookie.ag code next round. Good morning, Klatt. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
Doing fantastic. When you grow up in the state of Alabama, you are a college football fan at birth, right?
Yeah.
And I have watched college football religiously for the better part of 30 to 35 years now, growing up in this state. And I can confidently say, and not just SEC, in the nation, I can confidently say I have never seen anything like Travis Hunter, ever. And I've watched a lot. I've watched a lot of college football. I have never seen that in my life.
So, I'm not quite as old as you, but yeah, I mean, same. And I was trying to convey that. It's so challenging when you feel something in the booth that you don't have, I don't have hours to vet that out. Like a comment like, I have never seen anything like this, but I legitimately, and so I ended up saying it anyways. I thought it for a couple of series. And then finally, I was just like, you know what? Like he was incredible. By the way, Sonny Dykes after the game, I don't know if you saw his post game, but he was astonished by it. He was like, listen, we take great pride in our strength and conditioning program. Somehow Travis Hunter played every snap in the game. We had guys that couldn't finish the snaps on their side of the ball, and it's, I think that the most surprising part for me was that it wasn't a package, on offense. He was just playing wide receiver. And he was just part of the offense. And then he was in every snap on defense. He was covering man-to-man. They weren't protecting him with cover two a lot. You can do that. You can take yards and running off of your corners by giving them safety help, letting them jam on a few snaps. And I'm not saying that they didn't do that at all, but he was in man-to-man. He's running those routes. It's 100 degrees. And here's the best part. Guys, he was at his best at snap 115 and on.
Yeah.
That's what was so astonishing to me. And then I'll give you a really quick sequence that I thought changed the entire game, obviously. Amani Bailey breaks the big run from inside his own 5-yard line. It looks like he's gone. Travis Hunter chases him down, length of the field from the opposite side, gets him down to the ground. TCU continues to drive. Now it's third down inside the 5-yard line. He's in man coverage on a wide receiver. Wide receiver runs a slant. He decides, you know what? I see that back creeping out, and comes off of his man coverage and intercepts the ball. I was like, man, this guy. And then he made the most impactful catches of the game. 3rd and 16. They don't come back unless he gets to 3rd and 16. He's catching the third downs in the fourth quarter. That was astonishing. I've never seen anything, which begs the question, and I'd love your thoughts on this, because does any other coach in the country allow him to do that?
I don't think they do. I mean, and I was going to ask you, Klatt, that was going to be my next question. 129 snaps. That is incredible, but can you continue to do that for 12 games? And I would say no. Other coaches would be like, we're going to be on a snap count.
Yeah. I think every coach in the country other than Prime would immediately say, yeah, we're not going to do that every week. I honestly have no idea. I can't wait to meet with him on Friday to see what he says about a pitch count, if you will. I would think that that's the type of game you need him for 120. I thought it was 139, but 29, 39, really, what's the difference?
Yeah.
That's the type of game. You're on the road. It's a top 20 opponent. They just went to the national championship game. They've got speed. You need that, regardless of temperature. When they play Colorado State, are they going to need 129 out of Travis Hunter? I don't want to disparage the Rams, although I do take a little bit of pleasure in it. I don't think you're going to need that out of him, right? And the reason is, to answer your question more specifically, he wasn't the only receiver that could make plays. It's not like they couldn't move the ball without Hunter. He was just a piece of what was a really great offensive game plan and clearly a lot of skill. Jimmy Horn was open the whole day. Xavier Weaver made plays. Dylan Edwards caught it out of the backfield. Shedeur Sanders played as well as I've ever seen a quarterback play in that uniform. I've seen almost all of them since 1984. ish since I can remember. So, like that's where I think that they can get him some rest, is if their offense can be this good and if they can get any margin over teams that they're more superior to than TCU, then you can start to get them a little bit of rest, and maybe you get them down to that 100 mark or even 90 mark in some of these games.
I will never forget, as long as I live, that echoing of you saying, I throw that pass 100 out of 100 times. He's open 100 out of 100 times as a quarterback. I throw that pass, and he made that interception. That was just great television to me. It just put into context how good of an interception. But I was blown away by Shedeur because, and you said it many times, that he was making great read after great read. I don't play the game. I don't see the high 22s or any of that. Explain to us what he was doing to be successful. A lot of credit going to the play calling, I know, but he has to make decisions and get the ball to the right place on time, on target. What was he doing in that game?
Okay, so there is a 0% chance that a play caller can be perfect all the time. There's no way you can call the perfect play where the ball is going to go to the right spot every time. So generally speaking, a great plan in my mind means that you have taught and you have prepared your quarterback to make decisions on the field, and then you give him the tools to make those decisions on the field so that the ball can go to the right spot. Now let's back up and talk about what that means. Colorado has a team right now that has to play what I would call advantage football. They cannot succeed when they don't have the advantage, whether that's a personnel advantage in a one-on-one situation or the numbers advantage in a ratio situation. Okay, their offensive line is not dominant enough to just play like regular, call it, let it go. And so here's what Shedeur was basically doing every snap, was that there was a couple of different play calls. There's an RPO, you can run it, you can throw it either side, and he's got to determine where the ball goes on every snap or almost every snap. And that's hard to do for a college quarterback, okay? That we generally don't see that, in particular in the modern style when everyone's looking over the sidelines. Hey, coach, tell me where to go with the ball. It's like he didn't have to do that. And so, for instance, if the middle of the field is open and there's two safeties, okay, regardless of the front structure, you have more run blockers than they have run defenders. It's called hat on a hat. And all you have to say is like, okay, is the middle of the field open or not? Or is it closed? Is there a single safety or is there two safeties? Regardless of what the coverage is, doesn't have to be cover two, open or closed. As soon as it's open, you can block everybody in the run front. So then it just becomes like, well, where's the walkout defender on the slot? Because he's the only extra defender. So then you start to say like, okay, we can hand off a couple of these handoffs. And so he threw a couple of those in. They weren't dominant, but they kept people honest. Then what happens? Well, the safeties creep a little bit. Maybe they go middle closed. Maybe that walkout defender, he walks a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. And what happens then? Snap, ball out to the advantage area. So now you're taking advantage of a one-on-one and or a ratio on the outside. And I just felt like the ball was on time and on target in the correct place all day long. Didn't you feel like that too? Yeah. I mean, it's like every time he threw it, it's like, well, that guy was open. And well, that's perfect. They were off the slot and he just dumps it over there. So that's a longer way. If I tried to explain that during a game and that long, Gus would probably stab me. So I appreciate you letting me explain it here on this show, but that's what I meant by it.
Well, I mean, I was fascinated because if I was a TCU fan, and I experienced a little bit of this last year, Alabama, Tennessee, watching Alabama's defense, and I was like, why don't they, how's that guy open? Do something. But if I was a TCU fan watching that from my couch, I'd be like, guys, what are we doing? Why are these guys open all the time?
But that's the hard part is like there's not much they could do. Now they could have tackled better, certainly. Yeah. I'm not in love with the 3-3-5 defense. I just will say, and that's not a TCU specific. That's a lot of teams out there. But having said that, like, what are you going to do? Like the offense should have the advantage because you have the benefit of the quarterback's mind. They can't cover everything. Even defensive coaches will tell you that they can't. That's why covering a team like Tennessee when they're in rhythm is really tough. Why? Because they are a post-snap choice route read team. Well, so it doesn't matter what your defense is. They're trying to run a choice route in order to beat that defense. And if they're doing that, what do you do? I'm not sure. You got to win a one-on-one in the pass rush, which Georgia was able to do against Tennessee and Alabama wasn't, so those are the things that start to creep up.
This is a week-to-week sport. And I think what's going to be fascinating, I'm looking at Undisputed. It's on in our studio on Fox, on FS1 right now, and they're talking to Deion Sanders. He's got a Louis briefcase right behind him. Everybody is saying Colorado is going to whip Nebraska. Nebraska looked awful offensively Thursday night. Jeff Sims is all over the place. I don't know what you're going to get. But I fully expect this to be a hell of a game, and I think Nebraska will be prepared. And you just, how is this a team under Deion, as well coached as they were this past week, that can be level-headed all week and be prepared to come into this game knowing that everybody is saying there's no way they lose this game?
Yeah, that's the challenge. Boy, Saturday felt like an arrival. There was a lot of we did it type of energy. And that's a dangerous place to be. The biggest threat to any team's success is complacency. You guys have heard Kirby and Nick talk about this all the time, right? And those two guys have fought complacency in their programs through internal competition. Wouldn't you agree? Great roster. Yeah. So it's hey man, if you want to be on the field, you got to show up on Tuesday and just be ready. That's not the case with Colorado's roster right now. They're going to have to find motivation outside of that. And I hate to use the term motivation. Here's what I am very impressed with when it comes to Deion and his coaching staff. They coach these guys hard. And I think you saw that in the way that they played against TCU. Weren't you surprised at the clean nature of the offensive operation?
Yes.
They looked
it's a brand new team.
They were the better coach team. And one coach just coached for a national championship, and Deion was the better coach in the game.
Yeah, one of the better coach teams of the weekend. Yeah. Thursday to Sunday so far, one of the better coach teams of the weekend.
I totally agree. And by the way, that's not just oh man, Deion, good job. 68 new scholarship players. Mm-hmm. It's a staggering thought for them to have played as clean as they did. Can you expect that moving forward? I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll make mistakes. They're college kids. I will say a couple of more things on that question because it's a good one. Let me point to Charles Kelly. You guys know Charles. Yep, he was at Alabama for, I think, 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. And I asked him, I was like, I think everybody in the world would think that Nick Saban and Deion Sanders are polar opposites. And he said, absolutely not. They are way more alike than they are different. Isn't that a funny thought?
Yes.
From internal. And he said, each of them holds a standard that is so high, nobody can relax. So every day the standard is so high. And I think you saw that on display on Saturday. Well, they're going to need that standard this week. There's an old coaching adage. My dad used to say this. I remember when I was a little kid and I was watching the reel-to-reel film with him in my kitchen, our kitchen as a kid. And he had a very good high school team and program for a number of years. And I remember there was another coach in our house watching film, and it was a Sunday afternoon. I remember, I don't know why I remember this, but my mom had just made a pot roast. And we were sitting there and it's just one of those childhood memories. Yeah. And my dad said, and his friend was Jim. And he says, Jim, we got to treat these winners, our team, like losers. And if they ever lose, we'll treat them like winners again. And I remember being like, wait, what? Well, then I've subsequently heard that over and over again, throughout my career. And the adage being is winners need to fight complacency. Winners need to be held accountable. Winners need to be reminded of the strain and urgency that it took to get to the place that they played. Losers need confidence. Losers need to believe that, man, it can happen if I do all of these things. And so Colorado's challenge this week is to do that. Now, last thing, and I know this is a long answer, they cannot bank on Nebraska making the same mistakes that TCU did. whether it was just mistakes on the field and or coaching errors. I like Kendall Briles a lot, but man, run the ball.
Yeah.
Like I was shocked that they didn't run the ball more. One, to keep Colorado's offense off the field, and two, because it was so successful, in particular in the second half. Nebraska will not make that same mistake. One, they can't throw it around the lot. We saw that on Thursday night. Jeff Sims has been a turnover, prone quarterback his entire career. And so they're going to come after that Buffs defense. And I don't know if Colorado can stop them up front. Now, on the flip side, there's no way the Nebraska defense that I saw covers for any amount of time what I saw on Saturday from Colorado. So we might be in the same situation where it's like 45-42 and just a different style of game.
All right, it is the Big Noon Kick, Saturday, 11 o'clock Central Time, Colorado and Nebraska. I never thought I'd be so invested in this game.
Hey, can I ask you guys a quick question? I know
please.
you guys are trying to get out.
No, you're all
pay
good.
Bills
You're all good. Go
like
ahead.
That. Sentiment about Milroe. I haven't watched the film yet. I'm trying to get that today. What do we think about Milroe?
Hard
to say about level of competition.
Yeah, level of competition. Same, with a lot of the SEC games this week, the ones they won. A little shot there.
Yeah, I mean, when they played like opponents, they all lost.
Yeah, that is no doubt. The SEC had a bad weekend.
No, they got embarrassed when they played like opponents.
No doubt.
It's hard to tell, but in my personal opinion, him this week against Texas will be him running the football a lot. A lot.
They should. If he's safe with the ball, Alabama's going to win. If they turn it over 3 times, they'll be in trouble.
Hey, text me after you watch it. I'm really curious as to what you think about him. Watch his.
I know. My apologies. I'm going to try to get to that before our conversations every week because I think it would be, good for your show, but I haven't gotten a chance to do that yet.
Second half touchdown pass to Nyblack, the tight end, 84. I thought was his best pass. I'm curious if you agree. Beautiful touch on the ball, and it was kind of a tough catch for the tight end, and he made it. I'll be interested in your thoughts on him.
He's a confident kid.
Yeah.
Hey, well, that's half the battle.
That is.
Look at Colorado.
Hey, and by the way, Nyblack doesn't look like an Alabama tight end either. Little speed there to burn.
He's a good player.
Right.
Yeah, he's going to be a good player.
Little speed to burn.
Hey, Jimmy, that's just a great shirt.
Thank you. I've had it a long time. Some of my dear friends are Colorado grads, and I've always loved the logo. But, since Deion is questioning whether anybody believes in the media, I do not want to get called out in a news conference. So
I told you guys last week, I said they would win one of these first 2.
Yeah, you did. And they did.
Hey, man, if they start 3-0 before they go to Eugene, I can't even imagine the buzz.
Remember when Dan Lanning was like, "Oh, what's Colorado ever done? What have they won?"
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
Remember that year we gave you a hard time about having to do so many Michigan games?
Hey, I'm just
right now. If y'all booked 11 Colorado games, I wouldn't blame you.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, you should see our text chain. I was all over our programming department, literally from the booth. I was like, September 30, USC, make it happen. Like, it's got to happen. We got to have Caleb against Shedeur. Like, I hope that they can do it. They're like, well, we're trying to move some things around. I'm like, then move them.
Dude, I am a Pac-12 fan. You know that. And for the Pac-12 to be 13-0 and playing like they're playing, these quarterbacks, we knew they were going to be good, but it goes even deeper now with Sanders. It's been a lot of fun early on.
Yep.
Yeah, good offenses out there. Really good quarterbacks. It's been fun to watch in the swan song year for the conference.
I know.
This is just the case study in like adults screwing it up.
Larry
Way
Scott.
to go, adults in the room. Larry Scott screwed it up. The president screwed it up. Jeez, academics. Everything lives in theories. Academia. It's like the downfall of our country.
Put that on a T-shirt. Klatt, thank you. We'll see you on the Big Noon Kick on Saturday and then right back here next Monday. Have a great week.
You got it. See you, boys.
All right, buddy. Joel Klatt with us each week, courtesy of MyBookie.ag. Don't forget code next round for that sign-on bonus, and it is up to $200 on any deposit of $50 or more. MyBookie.ag, code next round.